Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Winter Wyvern, a hero for griefers. Winter Wyvern is a ranged intelligence support hero whose most iconic feature is losing your team the game with the press of a single button. And when it comes to which button she presses to do it, she actually has options, because she has not one, but two different abilities that have some of the highest grief potential in the entire game. One of those abilities is Cold Embrace, which temporarily disables your teammate and heals them for a significant chunk of their HP. It lasts 4 seconds long and is one of the most powerful heals in the entire game, and there is absolutely nothing stopping you from using it right on your Muerta as soon as she pops ult and BKB. Your other method of immediately tanking your behavior score is your ultimate, Winter's Curse. This is a unit target spell that, when applied to an enemy hero, will cause all of their nearby allies to drop whatever they're doing and begin beating their ass. This instant gang initiation ritual is actually extremely powerful and pierces BKB and can be used to take out a high value target such as a support early on in the fight. The problem with it is that all of the enemy heroes affected by it are also invincible to all sources of damage or CC coming from your team. This makes it one of very few high-impact ultimate abilities that actually don't play nice with the idea of a wombo combo. In addition to those X-Ping generators, she also has Arctic Burn, her Q. This is an enhancement mode that gives Winter Wyvern flying movement and also makes all of her attacks deal a percentage of the opponent's current HP as damage. It also increases her attack range by a whopping 325, and by one incredibly specific metric, is the best ability in all of Dota. Finally, she also has Splinter Blast, a very clunky AoE magical damage nuke. The target that you actually hit with Splinter Blast won't be affected at all, but everything around them will take a big magical nuke and a 40% movement slow for 4 seconds? Jeez. The cast range also means that it's in a stiff competition with Gush from Tidehunter as the game's best Linken's popper. Wyvern currently has two different facets, the first of which is Winterproof, which allows you to cast Cold Embrace on towers, which is fantastic because they can't report you. Any allied heroes affected by Cold Embrace will also get a significant attack damage buff for 6 seconds after it ends. Notably, buildings will not actually be healed by Cold Embrace when it's cast on them, but strangely, the duration of the ability will be paused if Glyph is activated in the middle of it. This is such a strange and particular situation that the only reasonable conclusion is that someone at Valve has a really big crush on this hero. Her second facet, Recursive, is the one that everyone picks. This ability makes it so that whenever a hero dies under the effect of Wyvern's ultimate, a second ulti will be cast on another nearby hero. All of the ass beaters will immediately shift their attention and begin beating the new hero's ass, and if they die, the process repeats. In Magical Christmas Land, it's possible for Winter Wyvern to hit the R button, sit back and relax, and watch Rampage appear at the top of their screen because the enemy team chain beat themselves to death. As for her lore, she is not a dragon, and she just sort of hangs out in the frozen wasteland, the same place where Crystal Maiden calls home. She's an aspiring author and tries to hide her status as a wyvern by writing under a pen name, and unfortunately the majority of her books aren't too well received. Considering that she's confirmed to have a massive library and she has that voice, there's a real chance that she's been writing fanfiction about other Dota 2 heroes this entire time. And speaking of that voice, it's the primary reason people even pick this hero, because what other Dota hero can give you a schizophrenic mommy ASMR session in the middle of a ranked match, right when you need it most? Now we're going to start off by talking about Winter Wyvern's more positive trait, which is the fact that she has some of the most insane cast and attack ranges in all of Dota. Anything in Dota that deals damage as a percentage of max or current HP is usually very strong, and being able to have it on a support with an insane attack range is even better. That is exactly what Arctic Burn brings to the table, and when you're playing her as a position 5, which you should be, it also brings a lot of utility when it comes to jungle management. With just one spell, Winter Wyvern is able to harass both the enemy offlaner and position 4 and eliminate a sentry ward all from relative safety. And her confidence doesn't just come from the insane attack range that you get whenever you hit this button, but also from the fact that you get flying movement. This means that you can waddle on top of the tree line and attack them with impunity, and they have no way to get back at you for it. The math on how much damage it actually deals is pretty fuzzy, but it rounds up to a fuck ton. And unlike that fraud Jakiro, you don't have to get anywhere close to the enemy cores in order to use it because of that 325 bonus attack range. This ability alone has enabled Winter Wyvern to be played as a position 2 in previous patches, though if you do it today, it's definitely a grief. And this isn't even her only way of dealing damage from a massive distance, because she also has Splinter Blast. As mentioned before, this ability doesn't actually do anything to the unit that you cast it on, but it will send out chunks of magic damage to everything near them. The slow and damage can be useful in a fight, but its best use case is actually taking dangerous creep waves where the enemy team can't even see you farm them. This ability has a cast range of 1150, which is just under the distance of Blink Dagger, so if you're able to see a creep wave on your screen, there's a good chance you can use Splinter Blast to get it all low, wait a few seconds, and then cast it again to get all of that golden XP. Between this and Winter's Curse, especially if you took the facet that lets you cast it on towers, Winter Wyvern is a high ground monster and very difficult to push into. One final note, because I promised to talk about it earlier, is that Arctic Burn is, by one specific metric, the best ability in all of Dota. That criteria is an ability draft, where giving any other hero access to an insane amount of current HP percentage damage and that much attack range is broken. If Winter Wyvern is in the AD pool, whoever is going first has to pick Arctic Burn, even if they're a melee hero, because it really is that good. On the downside to all of this, it means there's a real chance you could queue up for an ability draft game, wait 31 minutes to find a match, finally queue in, and then just get your shit rocked by a sniper with this ability. Liking, commenting, and subscribing helps the channel out quite a bit, but if you'd like to support me on a more personal basis, I have a Patreon linked in the description below. The price of the lowest tier is pegged to the cost of a Twitch subscription in the Philippines, and gives you access to all of my videos ad-free as soon as I'm finished editing them. Link below if you want to check it out, and if you're already a patron, thank you very much for your continued support. And now that we've talked about our positive traits, it's time to go over why Winter Wyvern is a terrifying hero to have on your team. Cold Embrace is an extremely powerful tool that heals a ton of your HP and also makes you immune to physical damage, which may lead your Wyvern to thinking that you want it cast on you in the middle of a team fight. But the cost of all of those benefits is the fact that it makes you completely immobile and also unable to attack for the entire duration. And, unlike many other grief potential spells, there is absolutely nothing preventing a Winter Wyvern from casting it on you as soon as you pop BKB for the very first time. As a result, if you are going to go on the journey of playing Winter Wyvern, the first thing you need to learn is to be very, very careful whenever you use this ability. And you have to be even more careful as the game goes on because there's a higher chance of your cores picking up items like Satanic that can heal them without putting themselves in a vacuum seal bag. And while it does give immunity to physical damage, it doesn't make you immune to being right-clicked nor from any kind of magical damage. And the immobility means that there's nothing stopping the enemy Skywrath mage from walking up and using his ultimate to cook your mid laner sous vide. That ability alone would be enough to make any support infamous, but if she stopped there, Winter Wyvern would only be the Kevin Durant of griefing. But it's her ultimate that truly makes her the LeBron James of throwing games. Because your ultimate makes all of the enemy heroes affected by it immune to any sort of damage from your own team, there is always a chance that you cast it right as your Enigma jumps in and gets a 5-man black hole. If your team has access to any element of Wombo Combo, just a single high-impact AoE spell, there is always a chance that you will ruin it. And it doesn't even matter how it gets ruined. You can set up an amazing Winter's Curse that kills the enemy carry and the mid, but if your Enigma walks up 2 seconds later and black holes, your entire team will still blame you for it. This phenomenon makes it very important to be careful about using your ultimate, because not only will you lose MMR, but you will also lose conduct score. And if there's one thing I know about Wyvern mains, it's that the currency they value most in this life is not money, nor matchmaking rating, but good boy points. Now, if all of this sounds appealing to you, or you're the kind of guy who has to listen to motherly affirmations in order to hit a new bench press PR, here is how to play Winter Wyvern. A good chunk of your laning phase is going to be dedicated to using Arctic Burn to harass the enemy laners, but notably, you can only apply the debuff once whenever you cast the ability. This means that getting that first hit off is going to be the most important thing after taking to the skies, so position yourself a little bit forward and make sure you can see both of them before activating it. You can continue abusing the extended attack range to rain down right clicks on the enemies, but remember that you can also use it to de-ward. In coordination with the Sentry Ward, you can use your first cast of Arctic Burn to block the enemy medium camp and deal with any sentries that they've put down preemptively. Keep in mind that the flying movement also helps you get on top of ward spots, helping you make the most of your sentries in the mid-game. Now, after babysitting your position 1 for the laning phase, your new objective is to identify whatever lane your team least wants to be in and go there. Hide in the jungle and use the insane cast range of Splinter Blast in order to farm enemy creep waves without ever showing yourself to the enemy. And when they do decide to show up and try to deal with you, simply hit Q and walk away without elaborating. As far as your item build, Arcane Boots are pretty much mandatory, and I strongly recommend going for a Blink Dagger first. It's kind of greedy, but it will allow you to get to the team fight hopefully a little bit faster than your position 3, preventing you from griefing each other back and forth forever. Aghanim Shard will reduce the cooldown of Splinter Blast by 4 seconds, and will also trigger it at the end of a Cold Embrace. And if you're going to be making your cores completely immobile and vulnerable to magic damage in the middle of a fight, Glimmer Cape seems like a rather obvious pickup. You can go for other defensive items, or if you really want a KYS, keep yourself safe, you can go for an Aether Lens. This item can make your cast ranges absolutely ludicrous, especially if combined with the right neutral. After this, your only goal is to just not grief. I've talked about it a lot already, but I seriously cannot stress it enough that one bad Cold Embrace or one bad Winter's Curse will lose you the game in the blink of an eye. Regardless of how anyone else on your team is playing, you will be the first person blamed, reported, and flamed in the post-game chat. But to be honest, no matter how hard you try to not grief the shit out of your team, it will eventually happen, and when it does, I hope that masochism is also on the list of your weird sexual fetishes. I tried to write a little bit about how Riot and Valve approach the idea of griefing in their games, but I got distracted. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you're tired of losing to this hero, or your friend won't stop trying to pick up chicks at the battered women's shelter, here is how to beat Winter Wyvern. My first piece of advice is to pick a hero. Winter Wyvern has a ridiculous amount of soft counters, and all the heroes listed in the bottom right have ways of taking advantage of Cold Embrace or just outright ignoring it. There are even heroes that rely on physical damage, like Anti-Mage, who don't mind it, because they can still attack and deal magical effects through Cold Embrace, even if they're not dealing any damage. Slark and Razor also fall into that camp, but any hero that's reliant on dealing magic damage won't really care that you just shove your carry into a freezer. Now, as for her ultimate, it can be an incredibly powerful tool, especially if you're a squishy high-value support like an Oracle or a Dazzle. In that case, the only true counter is to just position yourself knowing that there's a possibility of it going off at any moment. The search radius for Winter's Curse is actually smaller than the animation, but I'm not responsible for what happens if you try to figure out exactly how big it is in the middle of an important team fight. You have to stay apart from each other about the same distance you would if playing against an Earthshaker, but maybe leave a little bit more just in case. It does pierce BKB, but Lincoln Sphere will stop it outright, and Lotus Orb will give the enemy team a chance to take out their frustrations on their clumsy position 5 player. Which brings us to one last option for dealing with Winter Wyvern, which is to just wait. Cold Embrace and Winter's Curse have an insane amount of grief potential, and Wyvern herself doesn't even have to play bad in order for that grief to come to light. Instead, her team can absolutely poop their pants and try to wombo combo on top of it for no reason. As the duration of the game goes up, so too do the odds of her making a little bit of an oopsie. And so, if you're able to make the game last long enough, there's a real chance the Wyvern player will ruin her team's morale and lose the game all by herself. The true 1v9. In conclusion, Winter Wyvern is a motherly hero, and you should absolutely play her. Winter Wyvern's voice actress is Merle Dandridge, who also voices Legion Commander and Alex Vance from the Half-Life series. All of this means that there is a very real chance that Winter Wyvern is allowed to say it. Peace on planet Earth.